Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach. Yom Revi. The Parshas Chukas. Shnas Tovshenayin Zayin. Yeshiva Tiferes Avigdor. In Perek Chav, the Torah relates how Klal Yisroel traveled from a place called Kadesh. Vayisu me Kadesh. One of their travels in the Midbar was from a place called Kadesh. And they arrived, Kol Ha'eda arrived ready to enter Eretz Yisroel, because everybody who was supposed to die in the desert and did not merit to come into Eretz Yisroel had already ceased dying. So that's why it says Kol Ha'eda. Rashi says Kulam Shleimim. They all were Shleimim and ready to enter Eretz Yisrael. Where did they come to? A place called Har HaRav. That's a mountain that's on top of a mountain. That's why it was called Har HaRav. It looked like a small apple, Rashi says, on top of a large apple. Rashi has an interesting question. Rashi says they were accompanied with the cloud. The Anan was accompanying the Am Yisrael. And one of the things about the Anan was that what? Shomer? Shomer, no. One of the things that the cloud did, it smoothed out all the land. Very proud of Yochad. The Emes. So it smoothed out all the land. So there should be no mountains. How could there be mountains? How could they come to land on the Har? So Rashi says, still in all, there were 3 mountains that it didn't smooth. Har Sinai, that was one, to give the Torah on. Har HaRav, because that was the place that Aaron HaKohen died and was buried. Aaron should be buried on a high place. And Har Nevoi, that was where Moshe Rabbeinu was buried. Kfuras Moshe. Means even though that's where he died on Kapara. So they went and they came to a place called Har HaRav. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe vel Aaron b'Har HaRav. And Hashem tells Moshe v'Aaron in this place called Har HaRav, Al Givul Eretz Edom. This was situated on the Givul, the boundary of the land of Edom. Avigdor. Come here. I can talk to you over here. Come over here, spread out. It's close by. So he told him that, whatchamacallit? Where was Har HaRav situated? Al Givul Eretz Edom. It was by the boundary of the land of Edom. Now it's interesting. In the first pasuk, which is the first time Har HaRav is mentioned, it does not state where its position was. But now, when the Torah is telling me about the Misa, the death of Aaron HaKohen, now it tells me where Har HaRav was. So Rashi wants to know why. Why does it mention it was Al Gvul Edom? You know Shimon? You ever heard of Aaron? You know he died? Yeah, you know, okay. When do you know? From second grade? You don't know Chumash where he came from? Never looked at Chumash where he came from? You have to look again. Now, it says, Shemipnei Shem Nischabru Kan Lehiskarev Le'eser Varosh. You know what he says over here? The Torah teaches me tremendous lesson that because they were nischaber, they joined Esav Harasha. Esav Harasha was from Edom, the land of Edom. That's where the wicked Esav and his people were from. Therefore, nifritzu ma'asehem. There was a break in their walls of the Am Yisroel. The chasru had tzaddik hazeh, and they lost this tzaddik. That means when they were chayna, when they stopped, arrested in this place called HaRav, which was Al Gvul Edom, they were niskarev. They became close to the Edomites. They did business with them. They bought food from them, other things, and they treated them like brothers. And because of that fraternization, they lost the great tzaddik Aharon. You hear that? And Rashi says we find such a thing in the Navi also. In the Navi, it talks about a certain Navi named Eliezer ben Doidavohu from a place called Maresha. He said to Yehoshaphat, the king of Yehuda, Behizchabercha, because of your joining, im Achaziohu, with the Rasha Achaziohu, Paratz Hashem esma asecha, Hashem blew up your mice. You know what they did? They entered into a joint venture to build ships in order to travel to Tarshish. And the Navi told them, because you joined the Russia in this venture to make the ships, your maisim are not going to be matzliach. And all the boats broke apart. Like it says in the Pasuk, Vayishavru aniyos, the boats fell apart, broke apart, and they couldn't go nowhere. So, my Rebbe spoke about this pasuk. This is a pasuk that's very dear to the brisker. The briskers are extremely strong on not joining in ventures with Rishayim. Now the question is, first, why in the world did they lose Aaron? Why was Aaron's death caused by this? What did Aaron do? You had a question, HaRav? Aaron was the nicest man, right? Why should Klal Yisroel lose Aaron HaKohen? Why should he die, Avigdor? Because Klal Yisroel was mischaber with the Rishayim. So the Satmar Rav, Zechariah Levracha, says a very interesting point. He says, because Aaron was the symbol of Shalom. Klal Yisrael learned from Aaron to be machzik to be strong in the midah of Shalom. And because of that, there came out a michshah, a stumbling block arose. And they made a mistake. You know why? They didn't know to differentiate between his chabrus at bonding with Yidden and with bonding with Rishon. And therefore, since it was Aaron who caused the Klal Yisroel to make this mistake, so therefore the Midas Hadin was Paigeya in Aaron. Even though for Aaron himself, he never did that. Aaron HaKohen knew exactly when and where and how to do Shalom. But they made a mistake, it was Pegei in him. And they lost this tzaddik. Now you have to know this is a major problem. Because people like to be liberals, especially love the midah of Shalom. Right? Aaron used to mix with Pshutei to be mechazik them, be mekarvim l'Torah. If they had issues with their husbands and wives, he would bring Shalom between them. So people think, you know what, it's nice to be nice to everybody. It's good to be friendly with Rishayim. But the truth of the matter is, it's not. To be mischaber with Rishayim is very, very bad. And my Rebbe said, you see from this pasuk a tremendous lesson, a tremendous chiddush. You know why? We would never think that this is called joining a Russia. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was guiding Klal Yisroel. He guided them around the Edom, but next to Edom. What did they do? They did some business with Edom. They bought from them stuff they needed. That's called the Schabris LaRussia. So the Rebbe said, from here you see, this alone, they were going past their thing and doing simple, normal business. They weren't dancing with them, they weren't partying with them, they were just behaving in a friendly fashion. Sell me this, I'll pay for this. That itself is called his chabrus, the Russian. That's a nerdik chiddush. Now people don't know that to be mischaber l'Rusha is an absolute isser. If you take a look in Shari Tshuva to Rabbeinu Yoina, in Shar Shlishi, Nun Aleph, he says as follows: the osur lehischaber el harosha beiskei ha'olam. You hear what he says? You can't join a Russia beiskei ha'olam. That means in worldly business, worldly involvements. That's what it says. Shenemar, it says the pasuk, behischabercha, when you joined in an allied venture to build ships, shipbuilding. You know where Yisroel builds their submarines? You know where? What do you know? You know where they build their ships, Ochana? You don't know that? Okay, Baruch Hashem. They build them in Germany. All German submarines. So, there was a time they got it for the French too. They got boats from the French. That was the famous story with the French. They want to release the boats and they hijacked the boats. You know, the war. Nice spy story. So it says over here, if you mischaber el harosha, the iski ha'olam, you know what happens? The boats broke apart. And then it goes right, he says, va'afilu lidvar mitzvah. Yeah? Afilu lidvar mitzvah. also l'ischaber l'Russia. You can't, l'dvar mitzvah, you can't join a Russia. So here a person thinks, you know what, I'm going to join with the Israeli government, Abanda Rishayim, in order to be mechaber l'dvar mitzvah, that go together with them. That's the big kasha. The big problem that a lot of people had, halachically, was how can you join the Israeli government just because they're going to give you money for your institutions, or just because you think you're going to get some help from them for dvar mitzvah. It's also l'schaber l'rosh, even l'dvar mitzvah. V'amar Rabbi Seinu, it's an Avos Reb Nosson, it says, Al tieh chaver l'rosha afilu l'dvar mitzvah. Another lashon is al tischar b'lorasha afilu l'Torah. Can you imagine that? It's unbelievable. And he says you have to know that many are the ways to death through hanging around Rishayim. And the severity of this aveira, he says, and this and how terrible it is, is already revealed. The person has to know that spite from a davar pasha. We always think that the end justifies the means. If you can go with Rishayim, you get what you need. It's better to go with Goyim than to go with Rishayim. I want you to know that. To do business with Goyim is better than doing business with Rishayim. Edom was the epitome of evil. Edom represents the chazan. On the outside he looks like he has hooves, but inside the panemius is no good. That shaykhis. A lot of people say, oh, we know we're brothers. We're all brothers. We're all brothers. So, Rebbe said over a story that one of the leaders of the Mizrahi movement, who the HaRav was very against, Avigdor. And he once came to him, to the HaRav in Europe. And the HaRav showed him a very unhappy face. On a level of 1 to 10. When you go to the hospital, they show you all kind of faces. On a level of 1 to 10, the HaRav showed him a 10. He showed him the vampire teeth. And the fellow was a learned man, and he was unhappy with it. So he went to Reb Chaim Oizer. Chaim Oizer Guzinski was the father of Yiddishkeit in Vilna, and he told him that the HaRav didn't treat him nicely, treated him angrily, upset. He doesn't have to agree with me, but at least treat me nicely. You know what Reb Chaim Oizer said to him? Listen, Reb Chaim Oizer answered. Reb Chaim Oizer was a very nice man, a tzaddik. He said, Abyssal emes is noch geblieben bei uns. A little bit of emes still remains by us in Yiddishkeit. Und das willst du euch wegnehmen? And that you also want to take away? You have one man that's emes. He treats you in the right way. A emes, I'll be the Torah. And you want to take that away from him also. That's what's called al-Schab in Rush. Rabbi said over that one of the heads of the Mizrahi once met Rabbi Chanan on a train station, train tracks. And he came over and he said, oh, Shalom Aleichem Chodye. He knew him from, they were children. And Rabbi Chanan turned around. Unsetosho. Oh, you're not talking to me? Obviously. She said, what's it going to take for you to talk to me? She said, I'll tell you. If you go and you convert to Catholicism, then I'll talk to you. He said, then do shmatzach up. That's when I'll talk to you. Aber bis du shmatzach up, I'm not talking to you. So the guy, what's up, Shad? He said, right now, you look like you're a ganzer Rav. If I'm going to be seen talking with you, I'm going to be mischaber with you. People are going to think that I'm actually. So, it's not going to have the right lesson. If you shmatzach up, then everybody's going to know that I'm not your chaver. And he told him a mashal. There was once a story of a sheikhet. And the sheikhet was in a city. And this sheikhet, I'll try this. Use your hands. And this sheikhet one day came to the Rav, and he said to the Rav, I have to be moedim his vada, I have to admit something. I didn't shech kosher for a long time. Oy vey. And he said, that means to say that all the pots, the pans in the city all treif. How could I do tshuva? So the Rav said like this. If you're going to get up in the shul and say, I want to be moedim mizvad, I didn't shech good, everybody's going to say, what a tzaddik is sheikhet. It says a sheikhet has to have emes yirus shamayim. So the sheikhet he's such a medactic. He doesn't want people to rely on him. So he's saying he didn't shech kosher. No one's going to believe him. But he said, I'll tell you what you should do. Go to another city and send back a rumor that you converted. And then everybody will know you shech the treif. That's what a person has to know. In verse, they didn't go for this baloney. They weren't mischabel rishoy. There was once a relative of my Rebbe from his family who went and joined a group of Bible critics. There was a big meeting, a convention, a Bible critic convention in Yerushalayim Mirakosh. So one of his relatives came. Obviously his relatives didn't come to criticize the Bible. He thought he was going to defend the Bible. But he joined this convention. My Rebbe told me like this, Du hörst? You hear? When they criticize, Pashut, they allow people to open their mouths and criticize our holy Torah. From today on, that person is never going to walk over my door. What do you call it? Doorpost. What is that? The door, the thing on the floor. Doorstep. Not going over my doorstep. Either she called it shvel. Evet nicht darüber gehen mein shvel. He's a Russia, he's gone. You join Rishayim? Of course you're doing a Dvar Mitzvah. You're going to prove this, you're going to prove that. It's Isser Gomer. Even be party with such people. People don't realize it. It's a very, very serious offense. In Bris, they would say over a famous Gemara with a Rambam. You know, there are 18 brachas in the Tefillah. And they added a 19th. You know which one they added? 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 Lam Shira. Shema, you have to have him tell you. Okay? V'la malshinim al tehi sikva. You know what that addresses? Heretics, people who challenge Hashem, they should go down. It's the only request we say in davening 3 times b'mehera. B'mehera. One time we say once b'mehera. Samach David Avdecha mehera satzmiya. We don't say Rafaynu b'mehera. We don't say Slachlanu b'mehera. We don't say Hashivenu b'mehera. The 3 beheras you get in Lam al-Shina, destroying the heretics. So the Rambam, the Brisker Rav used to show the Rambam in Hilchas Tefillah that says, B'mei Rebbe Gamliel, Rabu ha'apikorsim b'Yisroel. There was an increase in apikorsim and heretics in Klal Yisrael. And they used to cause pain to Klal Yisrael. And they would try to instigate them, Lo shuv me'acharei Hashem. That's what Rishayim are. They want you to get away from Hashem. Go to the army, do army service. That's what you do. Get away from Hashem, leave yeshivas. The kivin shara shezu gedoyla mikol tzorkei b'nei adam. Yeah? When the Chachamim saw this was the greatest need of all needs of mankind, of Yid. Shezu gedoyla mikol tzorkei b'nei adam. Amad hu ubeis dinoi. So Rebbe Gamliel and his Bezdin got together. They hiskim brocha achas. They instituted an extra bracha in Shmoneh Esrei. Shetiyeba sheila, that we should have in it a request from Hashem to destroy the heretics. And they instituted and put it into tefillah. Either. Can you imagine? That's not the biggest need of the whole Klal Yisrael. Yeah. You know how many people are at peace with heretics? They smile at heretics. Shalom to heretics. They engage dialogue with heretics. They want to hear what the heretics have to say, and so on and so forth. This is called Chavros L'Rishoyim. This is the greatest need. And my grandfather used to speak about this in a very sensitive area. But it's true. People may not like to hear it. And he spoke of it in the area of relatives. In this nutty world we live in this liberal world we live in, there's one mitzvah that everybody agrees to. You'll ask any secular guy, any Russian, and you'll say, what's the one mitzvah you believe in? What is he going to say, Avigdor? It's called the mitzvah of family. That's the mitzvah. If you ever dealt, and I've dealt with a lot of secular people, what do they believe in? Family. The one mitzvah. Family. They're hypocrites. They don't believe in family for nothing. They're not committed to family only when it's convenient for them. Well, that's for another shmooze. But this is the biggest bluff that ever. Family is a gift from Hashem. You know what family does? It's a gift that enables a person to become closer to Hashem. It helps a person to fulfill his tafkid. But what if he has a family that does just the opposite? What if you have a family that instead of bringing you to Hashem, tries to distance you from Hashem? Of course, with a smile. Why would you be so silly and want to sit and learn in the yeshiva? Why would you want to be so religious? You don't have to be so extreme. Don't you want to be useful? Why do you want to sit in a place and learn Torah? You can be useful. Isn't being useful important? And so on. When are you going to grow up and be a mensch? What, are you going to be a rabbi? You're not the rabbi type. Or we don't need rabbis in the family. Or whatever the haka nonsense. Family like that is one place for them. You take him to the Beis HaKavod, take him to the Beis HaKisei, and you flush until you've rid yourself of those parasites. That's what they are. They will blood suck you. They will take everything out of you. Now everybody thinks, but what about Shalom? What about Shalom? There's no Shalom over there. There's no place for Shalom over there. If you have a relative, people ask a cousin, you're Meshugana. It's Asr L'Schaber L'Rosh. Let's say you have a friend, a cousin that left yeshiva. A lot of people have that. Cousins, uncles left yeshiva. Of course, they were still with the yarmulkes on their ears. You see, sometimes they hold the yarmulke aside, they put the yarmulke on their this, this. And sometimes they have a pin, they pin it on the ear, so just like this, they walk like a side like this. And they shake their heads like this. They give their shake, I love that shake. They have problems with something, with mental control. And now you want to meet this guy, you want to shmooze the guy. You know what's awesome, Kamar? You're being mischaber to Russia. You're not going to carve the guy. What you're going to do, he's not looking at the kiruv. He knows the school better than you. You know what he's going to tell you? Why don't you cut it out? Come with me. You know how many times I've heard from people who had cousins who went off. I said, I wish I could be like him. Maybe he's not such a bad guy. He still puts on tefillin, officially. So far. He's making money. He even has a chavrusa with another uncle of mine, who's trying to be makarev. He learns it once a week. The guy. He's on a starvation diet of Torah. You don't understand this. It's a very serious. We lost Aaron HaKohen. You have to understand, I'm not saying you should act in any negative way to Goyim, but you should never, ever entertain the thoughts that we're brothers. There's no such thing as brotherly love. To another Yid, there's brotherly love. But to Rishayim, there's no brotherly love. You got to understand that, make that very clear. If a person opts out of Kiyam HaMitzvahs, if a person checks out from observance to Hashem, that person is opted out of what you call. I want to share with you a Rambam that was a shock to me when I saw it. It's a Rambam in Hilchas Avelis. But first I want to tell you, it's a funny thing. The secular people like the Rambam. The Rambam is their rabbi. They think so. You know why? Because he was a doctor. He was a doctor. He wore a white coat, so they liked the Rambam. They knew what the Rambam would do to them, or thought about them. They would run away from the Rambam in 1 second. And the Rambam was turning over in his grave when he sees himself on his name on people's offices. The Rambam brings down a tshuva, very interesting tshuva, that there was a place that somebody, a kohen, married a grush. Yeah. A kohen is not allowed to marry a grush, a divorcee. It's awesome. Is it the worst of marrying a Torah? No. Are you a heretic for doing it? Is it even remotely like Chil Shabbos? No. This is what the Rambam says. He sends a letter to the place and he says, those two people are in Chayrim. He says, anybody who helped this along, there's also a Chayrim. He said you should announce their names, and he says, anybody, any Jewish man or any Jewish woman who's going to do business with them, who's going to eat with them, who's going to drink with them, who's going to sit within their 4 cubits. It says, not them alone. Anybody who gets within them, that person is in Chayrim also. You can have no shaykhs to that guy also. Anybody who goes to a simcha of theirs, anybody who shares in a velus of theirs, a mourning of theirs, that is going to be like them. Someone who's going to join them, b'chayim u'b'moves, when they die. The Chevra Kadisha is not allowed to bury them. Any Jew that gets near them, he says, and when they die, you're mechuyev to give skila, stone their aray. Here is Rambam. And when you bury him, you should not say the bracha of tziduk hadin, which is what you say when somebody dies. And then you should show simcha v'sasai, make a party when they die. And he says, "Ukezeh roilonu." This is what we should do to anybody who stands up against Hashem and he's over on any one of the mitzvahs. That's what he says. We should not let our children have any shituf with them, shaykhs them at all, in any matter and in any way, any form, any fashion, until they do tshuva. And when they do tshuva, they must get divorced. And they both have to come to Bezdin. That's what he said. And receive malchus. You know what I'm saying? If they do tshuva. And each one of them should get malchus mardis. And they should swear on a Sefer Torah, the holy Sefer Torah, they'll never again repeat this mice. He says other things also. They don't do tshuva. Ram gives you eitzes. Can't say it in public. But you hear how the Rambam conducted himself lemaisa with an Iver Avera. No, he didn't smile. He was a doctor to big Arabs, big sheikhs. But for Russia, it's much worse. And I want to tell you, people don't realize this. Listen to this Rambam. It's a scary Rambam. In Bristol, they used to make fun of the world that doesn't agree to this Rambam. Rambam says in Ilchas Avelos, the laws of mourning, Kol ha-poirish midarki hatzibur. Anyone who goes, it doesn't act in the way that the tzibur of Klal Yisroel acts. V'heimo anoshim sheparku oil ha-mitzvahs me'altrum. They throw off the yoke of the mitzvahs from their heart. They don't do mitzvahs. They don't have to. Ve'ein nechlolim b'Yisrael. They're not included. They don't include themselves in Klal Yisrael in the mitzvahs and in respecting the moyados. They don't come to shul and they don't come to the batei midrashas. They're free people. They free themselves. Hareim kibnei chayrim la'atzma, like all the other nations in the world. They don't come to Beis Medrash. They don't come to shul. They don't have to come to shul. And he goes on. They're not bikarsim. These are from Jews. Those are from Jews. But what if the guy's not bikaris or a mummer? And the same thing. He says when they die, you don't sit shiva for them. There's no avelis. Ella, their brothers and their other close relatives should put on their finery. They should wrap themselves in their finest clothes. The oichlim, the shoysim, they should eat, drink, and they should be smeichim, because the enemies of HaKadosh Baruch Hu were destroyed. And about them the pasuk says, David HaMelech said, I hate those who are your enemies. Now Bristol always make fun that today, oh, no one holds with this. Even the biggest Kanoyim don't like this. Make a Suda, make a party. Never heard of it. I once heard from my grandfather, it was a shock to me when I heard of it, that when Theodore Herzl pagered, when he died, that Russia Merusha She'en Kamois, he was a terrible Russian. Now, to us it doesn't make a difference, we're little kids. But back in the day in Europe, Yidden worshipped him. They idolized him. There were such fights in shuls, you know why? He didn't wear yarmulke. He was a sheikh's gadol, but he had a nice beard. He had a yeshiva shabbat, a rabbanu shabbat he had. And you couldn't tell Clark if he was wearing yarmulke now. So yesh oimrim, he really had a yarmulke, you couldn't see it in the picture. Yisroel took it out of the picture in order to be mashpia on other people. And Yisroel, this mom is such a. If guy made fun of Theodore Herzl, it was unbelievable. In the city of Telz, which was a yeshivish city, when Teddy passed away, when he finally, Hashem removed him from the face of the earth, you know what happened? The people in Telz came to the Rav of Telz, who was the Rosh Yeshiva of Telz, and they demanded that he say a hesped, a eulogy, in honor of Theodore Herzl's passing. So know what he said? Tomorrow, 12 noon, everybody should show up in front of my house. Everybody came. The friar came to show up, the Rosh Fund gave respect to Theodore, Daddy. And the Yiddish, the Frumma came to see, what's the Rav going to say? What's the Rav going to say? Came together, he came off, he opened his doors, he had a porch, came on the porch, he was holding a safe in the Rambam. And he read this Rambam about how when somebody dies, a Rasha died, you're supposed to be, get dressed up in your finery, oichlin, v'shoisim, v'smeich. And he read the Rambam, touched the whole Rambam, and he said, Rabbi say, a good Yom Tif. That's what he said. Today, there's no such thing today. So, that's halacha l'mais. So everybody said, what's the famous thing everybody says today? What's the famous line? Eli, what did he use? Tenik Shenishma. So we once had a Talmud whose father died. And I told him, you don't have to sit shiva. You have no avelis, you have no shiva. You could. I had another Talmud whose father was a guy. And when his father died, he wanted to sit shiva for him. I told him he could. So he went to the Rosh Yeshiva and tells him, that's a guy. Told me he could. The Rosh Yeshiva gave me, where'd you get that shapsak? So the Moshe has old Shuvin Sefer. Moshe says you can sit shiva and gave. You don't have to. If you want to be a Mishugah, you can go ahead and do it. If it makes you feel good, go ahead. When it came to this fact, Rosh Yeshiva Del said, what? Of course you sit shiva. He said, no shiva. So I called Rebbe Yashiv. I called Rebbe Yashiv because I wasn't 100% sure. Rebbe Yashiv said like this. If the guy lived in Eretz Yisroel, he knew about Shabbos. He's not a Tinnik Shenishma. He has no chiyuv of avelis whatsoever ki hu zeklal. People have to realize this. He knew what didn't he know? He knew. He freed himself. Maybe when he grew up, he didn't know. But later on, he knew. He had a kid that was from. He knew his kid was from. He knew about Shmir Shabbos. He knew about the Torah. The kid spoke to him about a long time. He knew other people who he came from. He was interested. We have a very poor perspective. Relatives, it doesn't make a difference if they're relatives. There's no exceptions. Of course, if your relatives are needy, you should help them. But to befriend them when they have no interest in staying from, and it has a hashpah on you to become not from, that is his chabrus l'Russian. And people have to beware and be careful because there are tremendous consequences for being mischaber l'Russian. Everybody say, I want to just take the